Okay, welcome to a lesson on graphing straight lines using intercepts, which is exercise 6I in your textbook. Let's get started. Now, before we're going to be learning on how we can graph straight lines, how we can draw a graph using straight lines, using intercepts. Before we get started on that, I think it's a good time to revise what is an intercept. What is an intercept? An intercept is simply a meeting point. Okay. It's like in rugby league and RL, when someone intercepts a pass, it means the player meets the pass midway, so to speak, and grabs it, right? So intercept is a meeting point. So my OneNote can start working, inshallah. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what is an intercept? It's just a meeting point. So these are intercepts. Y-intercept simply means the line meeting the y-axis. The x-intercept means the line, the blue line, meeting the x-axis. So x-intercept is a line meeting the x-axis. Y-intercept is the curve, the line meeting the y-axis. And you can look at the official definition. The x-intercept is the point at which a line or curve cuts the x-axis. The y-intercept is the point at which a line or curve cuts the y-axis. So we're referring specifically to these points. That is the x-intercept. That is the y-intercept. Okay, moving on. So how can you find the x-intercept? And the answer to that is you just sub in y equals 0. Okay, so just keep that in mind. When you want to find the x-intercept, you sub y equals 0 in. And when you want to find the y-intercept, you sub x equals 0 in. So you got to take the other letter, so to speak. Y-intercept, you sub in x is 0. For x-intercept, you sub in y is 0. Okay, so for example, find the x-intercept for each line equation. We have to find the x-intercept, so we sub in y equals to 0 and solve. So we're going to sub in y equals to 0. So any place you see y, I'm going to put 0. So 0 is equal to negative 2x minus 7. And that's 2x is equal to 7. We just take 2x to the other side. 2x is minus 7. And then x is equal to negative 7 over 2. So the x-intercept is at negative 7 over 2 or negative 3.5, if you want to think of it like that, negative 3.5. Similarly, over here, again, we want to find the x-intercept. So we sub in y equals to 0, sub in y equals to 0. Okay, so any place you see y, I'm going to put 0 in. 0 equals to negative 3 over 4x plus 6. And we just solve this. So first things first, this whole thing is a negative. So let's move it to the other side. We're going to add 3/4 x to both sides. So I'll have 3 over 4x equals to 6. Okay. And then now we have a fraction. We have a 4 here. To get rid of that 4, that's a divided by 4. So to get rid of it, to undo it, we have to multiply everything. We have to multiply every term by 4. I'm going to multiply this by 4, so you'll be left with 3x. I'm going to multiply this by 4, so you'll be left with 24. And now that's 3 times x. To undo 3 times x, we divide by 3. Divide everything by 3. X is equal to 8. 24 divided by 3 is 8. And that is our x-intercept. All right. Any questions? Remember, you can send it to me via chat if you're not sure. But yeah, that's the general gist of it. To find the x-intercept, you sub y equals to 0 in. To find the y-intercept, you sub in x equals 0 and solve in exactly the same fashion as before. So how can we use this to plot a curve? Well, you put a dot where the x-intercept and the y-intercepts are and join the dots to make a line, right? So if, for example, we say the y-intercept is at negative 5, y-intercept means the y-axis. So at negative 5, that's negative 5, and the y-intercept's here. You put a dot here. And then if you say the x-intercept's at negative 3, then x-axis at x, where x is equal to negative 3, that's negative 3. We put another dot there, and then you just join the dots. and you have your straight line. And that's how you can use intercepts to graph a point, graph a line. So let's have a look. Sketch a graph of 3x minus 4y equals to 12 by finding the x and y intercepts. Well, okay. So I'm gonna split up my working out area into two spaces, and I'm gonna sub in x equals 0 to find the y intercept. And I'm going to sub in y equals to 0 to find the x intercept, right? So you can do either of those first, doesn't really matter. I'm going to do this one first, because why not? I'm going to sub y equals 0. In any place I see y, I'm going to put in 0. 3x minus 4 times 0, make sure you use brackets, is equal to 12. 4 times 0 is just 0. So 3x minus 0 is just 3x. So 3x equals to 12. X, I'm going to divide both sides by 3 because it's multiplying here. So divide both sides by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So my x-intercept is at 4. So if I were to graph that line, my x-intercept's at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to put a dot there at 4. I'll put a dot here. Now to find my y-intercept, you sub x to 0 in. So 3 times 0 minus 4y equals to 12. Wherever I saw x, I put a 0 in. I saw an x here, I put a 0 in place of x. 3 times 0. 3 times 0 is just 0. So really I'm left with negative 4y equals to 12. Now, what is with the y? I have a negative 4. I can undo it by dividing by negative 4. Divide everything by negative 4, and you have 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. Okay, you can use a calculator. 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. My y-intercept is at negative 3. So I go over here and I say, well, my y-axis is over here. 1, 2, 3, negative 3. I'm going to put a dot here. That's my y-intercept is. And yeah, I just join the dots. Whoops, right there. That's weird. I'm not being able to draw straight. Okay, there we go. And I will just erase the other lines. And yeah, that's our line. That's how you graph the line using the x and y intercepts. One more example, and then we'll look at a slightly harder question. Okay, so sketch the graph of y is equal to negative 2x plus 5 by finding the x and y intercepts. And by the way, this is just another way to graph. I know you can still graph using the y-intercept and the gradient if you prefer, or you might prefer the method we're doing today. It's up to you which one you use. However, for the purposes of today, we are learning a new way to graph, and you do have to use this method in the homework. And please make sure you show the working out first of all, and please make sure that you actually do the questions involving you to graph. Because what's the point if you skip the questions which ask you to graph? I mean, what are you going to learn? You're not really learning much, because the whole point of today is to learn how to graph using the intercepts. Okay, so here's another example. Sketch the graph of y is equal to negative 2x plus 5 by finding the x and y intercepts. Okay, so once again, to find, I'm going to sub x equals to 0 in, and I'm going to sub y equals to 0 in, and let's get started. Sub x equals to 0 in, any place I see x, I'm going to put 0. So y is equal to negative 2, and then I'm going to put 0 plus 5. So that's equal to y is equal to negative 2 times 0 is 0. Y is equal to 5. My y-intercept is going to be at 5. So if I would draw this, y-intercept at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a dot there at 5. Then I sub y equals 0 to find the x-intercept. So any place I see y, I'm going to put 0 in. I see as y there, I'm going to put 0. 0 is equal to negative 2x plus 5. And now I'm just going to solve this. So I'm going to take negative 2x to the other side to make it at 2x. 2x is equal to 5. and divide both sides by 2. The x-intercept is at 2.5. So 1, 2.5. So let's say that's 3. This would be 2.5. I'll put a dot here. And I just join the dots. And I've got my straight line. Now make sure you're writing y and x there. You should be doing it for all of them. Y, x, and just draw lines there indicating that the line will go on forever as well. All right, and that's how you graph. Now in the exams and so on, you might get slightly harder questions, worded questions, I guess. And let's have a look at a worded question. The height h in meters of a lift above ground after t seconds is given by that. So the height after a certain amount of time is given by that. How high is the lift initially? Before we even look at the questions, let's just graph this. This is a graphing question. So let's just have a look. H and T. I have to find, so hang on. Let's say this is what we're graphing, right? And height is over here. This is how high something is. And over here, this is going to be time. I should probably draw a straight line actually. All right, so what is the h-intercept? What is the t-intercept? To find h-intercept, sub t equals 0 in. To find the t-intercept, sub h equals 0 in. So let's do both sides. So h equals 0, sub h equals 0, sub t equals to 0, and let's see what happens. Okay, let's say we sub h equals 0 in. So you have 0 is equal to 90 minus 12t. So we take 12t to the other side to make it a positive. 12t is equal to 90. T is equal to 90 divided by 12. Let's pull out my calculator. 90 divided by 12 is 7.5. So time 7.5. When time is 7.5, height is 0. Height is 0. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's going to be 7.5 right there. And when you sub t equals 0 in, what happens? Well, h equals to 90, because when t is 0, you have h equals to 90. H equals to 90. And so let's say that's 90. And that's our graph. And so let's read the question. How high is the lift initially? 90. But time is always going to be starting from 0. You can't have negative time. Time starts at 0 seconds, and then you count up, right? So when t equals to 0, 90. 90. H is in meters, so 90 meters. How long does it take for the lift to reach the ground? 7.5 seconds. Because when height is 0, when height reaches 0, right? Remember, that's 90, and you go down, 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 down. When height is 0, not negative, obviously you can't have negative height. You reach the ground, right? T equals 0 at 7.5. So 7.5 seconds. And as you can see, drawing this graph and being able to do that helped enormously. We were able to answer the question straight away. Okay, so that's it for today. I'm going to stop the recording here. Best of luck with the work. And you can ask me for help on Slack as needed. And you can ask me for help on Zoom as well. I'm going to be here the whole period. So we are doing exercise 6I, the questions as marked in your textbook. Make sure you do the problem solving and reasoning as well. Questions 8 and 9, make sure you do them, as well as the understanding and fluency, the green bits.